when does an object become an object? When does this, what you're seeing, we could call it your visual field, when does that become something? That's really the question when we talk about the subject-object construct. Or I could say that's the question when we talk about the most basic sense of duality, of two-ness, of me and everything else, right? It's not just duality. Well, I mean, duality is a good word for it, but it's not just the dual nature, the sense of being separate from one thing that you're looking at, like an object. What comes with this construct, this overlay, or I'll just call it a perceptual filter, which is probably the most accurate. What comes with it isn't just the feeling that I'm apart from you, or I'm apart from that picture on the wall. What comes with it is I'm the center of everything, feels like, right? Now, we sort of know not to say that about ourselves, that, oh, I'm the center of the universe, right? But experientially, we actually kind of feel like we're the center of the universe, right? Like everything is arrayed around you. Like no matter which direction you look in, there are things that are closer to you and things that are farther from you. And if you go far enough, things are extremely distant from you, but they're equidistant in every direction from you. You're the center of that. And that's how our mind puts it together. That's how our mind sees the world. It sees it like I am the center of everything. I'm the center of the universe. So it's actually helpful to see that we really do perceive it that way. We don't necessarily think about it that way. We don't necessarily believe we're the most important thing in the universe or anything, although that's another kind of filter. But perceptually, it actually appears like that. I'm the center of this whole array of experience. Yeah. So that's another component to this perceptual filter we're talking about, this subject-object construct. Another component doesn't have quite as much to do with the visual experience of like, oh, that's out there and I'm in here. It has to do with a sense of value that you place on things. So there's what seems to come with that is the sense of like, no matter where I am and what's happening, I'm the one that's the most important, right? Again, we don't want to think about this way, like think that we believe this. We don't want to recognize this about ourselves, but we really do see the world that way, right? Everything's in relation to how important I am, right? Some maybe our lover or partner or wife or husband, they're the most important person to me. But, then a friend is maybe very important, but less important. And then an acquaintance, and then a stranger, and then an inanimate object. Right? There's an array of importance and how important they are to you, how much attention you will give them, how much you would sacrifice for them, and so forth, right? But they're all in relation to you. You're the gold standard for what's important in your life, right? And that's just the way we think of things. Now, none of this is criticism, and I'm not talking about this moralistically at all. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it is. And functionally, it's not wrong. Functionally, it's probably why we can survive. If you didn't care any more about feeding yourself than you did about feeding every other person in the world, or like you wanted to feed everyone before you fed yourself all the time or something, you may not survive, for instance. Yeah. Self-protection, all these things come into play based on this construct. Or at least based on let me say it more clearly, based on the way we are conditioned to self-protect and to function in the world. The construct is actually a reflection of that adds an unnecessary overlay. And I'll even modify that. The overlay is unnecessary now in your adult life. It's not unnecessary when you're growing up and forming your ego boundaries, forming your sense of self and other, forming, your ability to function in a three-dimensional world. You actually need it, or you probably need it. So understand that I'm not judging it. I'm not saying it's wrong. There's nothing moral about this. And it's not even really a mistake, because it is something that we develop in our younger life as a sort of milestone of growth and functioning. But turns out, as you wake up and start to dissolve perceptual filters that are unnecessary, it turns out this one's not necessary. And you may actually remember when this falls, when this perceptual filter stops operating, or when this fetter breaks, we could say, if you want to talk in terms of Buddhism, what you see is that often is like that the experience is far more natural. It's more obviously natural. It's more like, yeah, that's the way it is. The other thing is an overlay. So the last component to this perceptual filter of subject-object that I want to describe. I listed a few, but this is the last one, is that the overlay is clearly not as real as what's underneath it, what it's modifying. The direct experience that it's not modifying, or that's unmodified by it, the experience of not two, the experience of non-dual, the experience of Advaita, however you want to say it, and centralessness, that feels, it's not just doesn't feel, it's intuitively more obviously real. I don't know how to describe that. If someone hears that and philosophically wants to debate it, it does, you're kind of overlooking what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is you can actually break the illusion so clearly that you'll directly experience it and you'll know. If you try to look at it through the mind, it'll never work, because the mind has to look at things dualistically. So if it's a logical argument or a logical discussion about this, or philosophical, forget it. It's just not, that's not what I'm talking about. So so it's intuitively, clearly the primary experience, and there's an overlay that makes it seem like there's a subject and an object and a self in the center and others around, and some things are more important, some things are less important, but I'm always at the center. So that's the illusion. So then the question is, how do you get under that illusion? And I started the video by saying, when does an object become an object? When does something out there suddenly become something? In reference to what's in here, in reference to the perceiver of it. So it may help to not even think in terms of a body and objects, because if you think in those terms, or even inside and outside, because if you think in those terms, you're already kind of assuming something. You're assuming objects exist. You're assuming inside and outside exist apart from one another. What I would suggest is actually look really closely at the appearance. It's right in front of your face. Like your visual field shows you this. So look at the appearance and see when the sense of something appears. And it can even be the sense of something out there, like an object, what we can feel like as an object, or the sense of someone here, a subject. It doesn't matter, either side. When does something start arising that feels like a me apart from everything, or an everything pushed out from me? Just look in the experience and see, does that happen? When does it happen? Where does it happen? How does it happen? Really look and make sure that you don't settle for an answer until it's visually obvious. Until it's visually clear. It will be visually clear at some point. It can become so clear that it's like, oh, how did I not see that? And then it's so clear that it stays that way, right? So that's how I would suggest, is in a very, very simple way. Again, not talking about like there's objects and there's a subject and there's a me and there's stuff out there and distance. How does that? And then trying to deconstruct that. Then you're trying to like deconstruct the illusion from the illusion. Rather, just look at what you see what you see what's there, see what's appearing in the most basic way possible, which is so easy because you're already doing it. It's something you're already doing. If your eyes are open, you're already doing this. Okay. So just notice what's already there, and then just see, where does that become something or seem to become something? Where does it seem to become a relationship? Where does it start to become someone? Any of those three, they're all illusions. Just keep looking. You don't have to do this in a meditative way either. You can do it while you're watching the video, or you can carry it out through the world, right? In your day, like taking a walk is probably a good time because there's maybe nothing else to do. Instead of putting in headphones and listening to music or listening to a podcast, just do this. Look around. When and how does this actually become something or someone, and or a relationship between them? When does this become a relational event? How? How is that even possible? In one sense, it's absurd. It's impossible. When you see it, it's like, oh my God, how? There's no way. It cannot become. But I don't want to just tell you that and have you believe it. I want you to look, really, really investigate closely, and then tell me what happens.